long ago, Allan Green was one of the brightest prospects in boxing. Derailed en route to a title shot, Green is now back and still in the top 10 in the super middleweight division. His opponent is Floridian Darrell Woods, who has fought fighters in the top 10, and earlier this year was in a potential fight of the year against Samuel Miller.
Woods comes back with a right hand of his own, and he floors Samuel Miller. Can you believe this?
And he embodied the championship dreams of hard-working men from old Rust Belt towns in the 1980s. Coming out of Youngstown, Ohio, he was driven to win a title for his father, a World War II veteran who never got his shot. His son did, and he made the most of it. In an era of superstar lightweights, Ray Boom Boom Mancini was a star and a world champion. Tonight, in our studio, Ray Boom Boom Mancini. Friday Night Fights, now. Friday Night Fights, presented by Just for Men. We're in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Heavy-handed and top 10 super middleweight Allan Green taking on Darrell Woods tonight. Again, world-class action here on Friday Night Fights. And world-class in the studio as well. Brian Kenny here on the program. And once again, joined by the former lightweight champion of the world and classic ringside regular, Ray Boom Boom Mancini. Good to have you back, Ray.
Great to be back.
And still with hair. So that's you see all the hair and still with his hair.
And that's the funny thing. When I watch that old clips, I look at it and go, man, what was I thinking, man? What was that fashion with the hair, man? What was I thinking?
You weren't alone, right? You weren't alone. In fact, for you kids out there, as we say, and for those who were there, let's go back to '82. Here's how Ray Mancini took the lightweight title. And there was a lot of hair involved, a lot of action involved. This, Arturo Frias, the lightweight championship, 1982. Got rocked early, Ray.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Woke you up.
Yeah. Or hit me with a good hook right to get go. People ask me, what were you thinking during this time? And this is the truth. I was just trying to survive the round, get through the round. I wasn't thinking anything more than just get through the round.
But you surviving is throwing bombs.
Yeah, you know, when a guy's firing on you, you do one of two things. You either cover up or you fire back. And I chose to fire back, and I was fortunate to catch him, and here we go.
Yeah, it's something because if you're just watching this clip, and if people see finally that one comes up in the corner, it's the first time they got to put the graphic up, and they go, this is all in the first round? And that's Ray Boom Boom Mancini back in the day. Looking forward to, talking about the fighters of today, and we're already weighing in about, we were talking about Vladimir Klitschko a little bit before, and you're saying, all he does is this. He doesn't have to work as hard as you, Ray. You have to work a lot harder than the big guys.
I mean, he's a very heavy-handed fighter. When I talk about guys, the fighters nowadays, they're just not technically sound that they were back then. I mean, like Joe Frazier, even Muhammad. Muhammad knew how to fight on the inside, even though he was a boxer. When he brought inside, he brought his hands inside, he banged inside. These guys now, if they miss a guy with a jab, they're tying him up. That's how amateurish. I mean, that's what I'm saying. The game has changed. They're looking for that big punch. If they don't land it, they're looking to tie the guy up. Well, what about infighting? This isn't the amateurs. This is the pros. Learn how to infight a little bit. We're
going to talk about a lot of championship fights coming up. In fact, coming up, Ray Mancini is with us all night. Big fight week. And first, a huge fight is finally made. Calzaghe-Kessler is made. That's huge news in boxing. Vladimir Klitschko injured in his fight with Layman Brewster. And the big weekend, Antonio Margarito getting in with Big Paul Williams. Big welterweight fight. Arturo Gatti, Alfonso Gomez, and Roy Jones Jr. is back. We'll talk to Ray about that. Why continue to fight so past your prime? Right now, though, getting ready for the live boxing action. Joe Tessitore and Teddy Atlas will join us in just a moment. Derrick Campos ready to step into the ring against Ramon Montano. Friday Night Fights. Boom Boom who's here. We'll be back.
What's going on?
ESPN Friday Night Fights, presented by the new Just for Men hair color, knocks out the gray better than ever. And in part by Bear Aspirin. Bear, expect wonders. Well, if you're looking for a 26-foot tall, 43,000-pound golden driller statue, you can only find it one place, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they proudly displayed it on the Tulsa Fairgrounds dating back to 1953. We're at the Osage $1 Million Elm Casino. It was supposed to be the launching pad to many million-dollar fights for Allan Green. Instead, the world-class super middleweight is back here working his way to the bigger paydays again. He'll be taking on the cagey veteran Darrell Woods in our main event. He's pulled off upsets before. We will start the night with Ramon Montano. He's a hard-nosed junior welter, shown a steady improvement and some exciting action in the past year. Montano takes on Derrick Campos in an 8-round bout. 26-year-old Derrick Campos, 5'5", 138 pounds. He's from Topeka, Kansas. Tough to find quality sparring in Topeka, Kansas. 12 wins, 3 losses, 9 knockouts. He's stayed busy in the last 2 years. This is already his 5th fight of 2007 after 6 fights last year. Ramon Montano, 24-year-old Mexican native, fights out of Vegas now. He's 13-4-2, just 1 knockout. Last 5 fights, take a look here. Had a controversial draw with the then 24-0 prospect Dimitri Salita. Just fought on Wednesday night fights on June 13th, did Montano. He's fighting here on July 13th. Unfortunately, there isn't a fight card on August 13th.
Gave me instructions in the dressing room. I expect a tough, clean fight and obey my commands at all times. When I tell you to stop, you stop fighting, okay? Looks like your pants are up a little bit high here. You can barely see them right there, so you're going to be able to hit some of the belt line. Got any questions, anybody? Good luck to both of you. God bless you. Come out fighting at the bell.
So a good mark from referee Mike England early on. Is scheduled for 8, and you heard Mike England say, hey, the belt line is going to be good based on where I see these trunks. Ramon Montano seems to always make good, exciting fights. He is managed and trained by former bantamweight champion Richie Sandoval. They are both wearing black with silver trim. Campos has the black gloves. Montano has the red gloves. Round number 1 scheduled for 8.
I think this is going to be an interesting matchup for us and our viewers, with the edge going to Montano. First of all, he's been rounds. If we get deep into rounds here, that will favor Montano. He's been 8 rounds 5 times, 10 rounds once. Campos never passed 6.
Campos only has 6 total rounds in his last 3 fights. Montano has landed a couple right hands here in the first 40 seconds of this fight.
The question at hand right away when you look at both guys physically is, can Montano fight tall? And can Campos make it a short man's fight?
5'9" Montano. Campos just 5'5".
If you're behind Montano, you'd like to see him on the outskirts, using the jab, controlling range, and catching Campos as he comes in, and making Campos reach a little bit with those looping wide shots to get in, creating openings, counter openings for Montano. Because if you're behind Campos, you want to see him get close, but find a way to do it without leaving himself open.
Uppercut on the inside, just off the mark from Campos.
What you saw a moment ago, you don't want to see if you like guys fighting tall. Montano giving up his height by falling in with his punches. His right foot fell in as he threw a right hand, and as your feet fall in, your body falls in. And if you're tall, you become short.
Trying to place that jab to the body is Montano.
Both these fighters have been on the floor. Montano, he's been on the floor, but he got up to win. Well, Montano is right in where he wants to be. The good news so far is Montano has been able to get close. The good news, or I should say Campos has been able to get close, where his short arms are well served.
Wouldn't you know it? One moment we're on the...
Friday Night Fights presented by Just for Men here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Derrick Campos and Ramon Montano Ramon Montano, 24-year-old, who we have seen a few times in the course of the past year. He has the red gloves, both participants choosing to wear black with silver trim tonight, so we use the gloves as your markers.
When you're given physical assets, as Montano has been given, long reach, terrific height and size, it's a shame not to use them. This round, he starts out on the outside. But quite often, it's not even...
Oh, he got caught going straight back.
Well, it's not even Campos. It's not even Campos having to earn his way in. It's Montano opening the door to let Campos get in, as Montano readily gives up that height by falling in with his punches. He
Right
cooperates with Campos.
Back to the inside goes Montano. Moments ago, Campos was able to take advantage.
You know, I want to say both guys have good records. Maybe the record of Montano is more impressive, maybe a little more authentic because of where his fights have been. Nevada, New Jersey, sometimes better commissions. Campos, most of his fights in Kansas, sometimes soft commissions, a little easier to build up those records. We'll see whether or not that has any telling. We'll see if Montano's record indeed is more authentic.
A couple times he's trying to land that sweeping left hook. Comes lunging with it that time and is able to score, and then a lead right hand. This is a round that started off with Campos taking advantage and scoring well, but is finishing up in this final minute with Montano being the aggressor.
I'll tell you what the most telling thing for me is, and it's bad news for Campos. Montano can fight inside or outside, and he can do well. Campos can only fight inside.
Campos and Montano, end of 2.
Rally started.
Take a look of action from the last round. Campos inside where he wants to be, using those short arms. A little help from Montano falling in and making the geography that suited the shorter man.
See the punches in round 2. Good even round in round 2. Talked about that geography and the style with Montano yesterday when I sat with him, and he said we're ready for the style of fight that Campos brings. Alluding to the fact of what you said, Teddy, that he can get it done both on the inside and the outside. The advantage for Montano. Now ducking underneath, and Campos tried to land the uppercut. Two fights ago, Montano came up with a confidence-boosting win against 25-1-1 prospect Americo Santos. Put on a strong showing last year on Wednesday night fights against Hector Alejandro. And we saw him win on June 13th against Lowell Brownfield.
You can see a moment ago the great advantages when Montano uses his height. Not only can he get to Campos before Campos can get to him. In other words, get off first, use your jab, set up an attack. But then when he keeps the range and he steps out ahead of Campos, he can make Campos help him a little bit. Make Campos make mistakes by reaching in. And as we said earlier, creating counter opportunities on the back end for Montano.
Campos comes in with another left hook. He has a lot of confidence with it. He feels it's his most effective punch. That's what he put Jorge Paez Jr. down with.
You know, Joe, you touched on the records and the knockouts early on. We always talk about how records can be so misleading. Knockout ratios can be so misleading. You look at the knockout ratio of Montano, only one knockout and 13 wins. You say, hey, Campos is a lot stronger. You look at the knockouts of Campos, 9 in 12 wins. You say, boy, he can bang. But I believe that KO record of Campos is misleading. Again, most of his fights in Kansas and most with soft opposition.
And if you look at Montano and say only one knockout, also a guy that hasn't knocked down opponents. He just hasn't finished them. In fact, he scored 2 knockdowns in the first round against the 24-0 at the time Dimitri Salita.
Just look at the numbers, the last 5 opponents, the combined record for Montano, 77-9 with 2 draws. For Campos, 51, 47 losses and 2 draws. Montano's been in a little tougher.
There's a left hook again from Campos as we come to the end of this 3rd round on Friday Night Fights.
Or Zoomp.com. Showdown 2 at Lucky Star Casino, produced by C3 Fights. Better fighters, better fights.
Introducing Pivot, a new service from Cox and Sprint. Now access your cable services from your wireless phone. Watch mobile TV, check home email, and make unlimited calls to home without using wireless minutes. Connect to the comforts of home with Pivot. From Cox and Sprint.
We are at the Osage $1 Million Elm Casino in Tulsa, Oklahoma for Friday Night Fights. Allan Green, top 10 ranked super middleweight, coming up in our main event. Round number 4 between Derrick Campos, who has the black gloves on, up against Ramon Montano in the red gloves. Let's look at the punch track numbers through round 3. The average punches landed, and Montano enjoying a 24-14 advantage. But Campos now jumping all over him early here in round number 4.
Well, Campos, talk about geography, he has it right now. He's where he needs to be if he's going to win this fight. The only problem, even though he got inside and he opened up with a future lot of punches, not real accurate because his punches are a little bit wide. That uppercut is accurate, though.
Right uppercut landed. Tries to double up the hook. It was blocked. Montano still comes forward.
The reason that uppercut works so well is Montano giving up that height, not only by being in close, but by leaning forward. You lean forward, uppercuts are going to find you.
Point away, you understand? Next time I take a point away, you understand me? Box.
Very stern warning from referee Mike England. Hook uppercut combination from Montano. Returning fires Campos with a left hook of his own.
And I'm going to say it now, even though this has been a good round for Campos, getting inside where he has to be. Just watch these punches on the inside. I think the more accurate as the night goes on is going to be that man, Montano, because his technique is better. Inside or outside, his punches are straighter.
Oh, Campos is so wide. For a guy with short arms, he throws some very wide punches. Stepped over, fell in with the right foot after throwing that uppercut, and Montano makes him pay the price a bit.
See, this is the bad news I was talking about, Joe, in the last round. Campos can only win inside. It looks like Montano can win and even shine inside or outside. We know he's going to win on the outside. He's suited for that physically.
Good look at 4th round here as now Montano is scoring, headhunting up top against Campos. What a show they're putting on here. Look at the way Montano is finishing up a round in which he was stunned early in it. Just the beginning of a great Friday night fights. The super middleweight division will be showcased. It's aptly named. It is a super division. The top two, Calzaghe and Kessler, will face off this fall. And we're showcasing the 8th best in the world according to Ring Rankings. Allan Green takes on Darrell Woods in our main event. So glad you decided to join us here in Tulsa. Joe Tessitore alongside Teddy Atlas. Allan Green, it really wasn't that costly of a loss against Miranda. He's still number 8 in the world among the super middleweights. But what could be very costly is faltering tonight against the guy you should beat.
Yeah, of course. Well, I think it's an interesting match. I think in the end that Green may be too young, too big, too strong. But when you're coming off your first loss, when you were undefeated, there are some doubts. There are some questions in your mind. And those questions are going to be asked by that man, a very veteran, Darrell Woods, a man who is 12 years older than Green, and a man at 39 years old who brings a good right hand, plenty of experience, and maybe something you just touched on, maybe the advantage of Green looking past him.
That is still coming up in our main event. Allan Green, Darrell Woods. Look at the headshots in round number 4. Montano landing 43.
You know, Joe, the worst news about that round for Campos was that he was inside that last half of the round, actually for the whole round, but the last half of the round where he wants to be, where he needs to be, and he got dominated in the place that is supposed to belong to him.
3-punch combination by Montano. Went to the body well. Remember, he was given a very stern warning halfway through the 4th round by referee Mike England, so that belt line is a potential danger zone.
Maybe the only advantage that Montano has, he's physically been the bigger guy. You don't know if that equates into strength, but you know that can only be used in close. He turned pro welter, then after 6 fights moved down to junior welterweight. And Montano turned pro as a featherweight and moved up to lightweight, then junior welter.
Teddy Atlas's scorecard through 4 rounds. 40-37, Montano.
Well, I said at the top it would be an interesting match, and I would favor Montano. And I also said that one of the reasons I favor Montano is if we get into the deeper waters, things would be in his favor, having gone 10 rounds and 8 rounds 5 times. Campos is getting close to that place he's never been before. Never been past 6.
Teddy, even the deeper parts of rounds, because in both the 2nd and especially the 4th round, Campos scored well so early. You had the feeling he was going to win the round easily. And in both instances, Montano came roaring back, even in the rounds where he gave up something early on.
That steadiness of having fought better fighters, and the steadiness mentally of knowing that you can go full throttle, you can handle the rounds, you've been there before. That's a great advantage for Montano.
Place the right hand behind the jab. Now doubling up the jab is Montano.
Now Montano enjoying the best of both worlds, Joe. He fights when he wants on the outside with a superior reach and height, and then goes in the pinch when he wants.
Little blood coming from the nose of Campos. End of 5.
Single again. Will I still look eligible with gray hair? Is that all people will see? How do you make a clean break?
Just for Men stops gray from hiding who you are. Easy, with 5-minute Target Gray technology.
Dating again is easier than I thought. And you wonder, why did I ever put up with gray hair?
Let the real you come through. Stay in the game with Just for Men.
Ron Kenny here in the studio, SportsCenter 30 at 30. Top stories today. David Beckham introduced in Los Angeles, his debut July 21st with the LA Galaxy against Chelsea. You can see that on ESPN. And Dwight Freeney of the Colts signs a long-term deal. He was their franchise player. They don't like that sort of thing. Got 6 years, $72 million. Highest paid defensive player in the history of the league.
So keep him up. Doing a good job.
Not bad for a kid from Bloomfield, Connecticut, Dwight Freeney cashing in there. Round number 6, scheduled for 8. Good scrap to open up Friday night fights. Derrick Campos and Ramon Montano. Montano is in the red gloves, and in that last round, he enjoyed a 27-11 connect advantage. Joe Tessitore alongside Teddy Atlas, Brian Kenny in studio tonight with Ray Boom Boom Mancini. And we're all going to sit back and enjoy Allan Green in the main event against Darrell Woods. Allan Green, of course, mouthpiece is out, is trying to bounce back from his loss to Edison Miranda. Still a top 10 ranked super middleweight, still very much with all his career ahead of him.
Okay, time in. Bucks.
Luis Rivera, the man in charge in the corner of Campos, and former world champion Richie Sandoval, the man in charge with Montano.
Right to the inside goes Montano. They both fire off uppercuts.
How discouraging it must be, Joe, for Campos. Gets in again, inside.
And he got the best of it.
Where he wants to be, and the taller, longer arm man pushes him out, forces him out.
You called that very early on, and it's been the case throughout, that yes, the taller man, yes, the guy who can win it on the outside, but he's doing damage on the inside as well. So a real uphill battle for Derrick Campos throughout, who's had his moments, by the way. But Montano has been on his game tonight.
And again, when you get inside, in the territory that should belong to Campos, the more accurate puncher, Montano. Technique will make you more accurate when it's good technique. And straight punches will get there better than round punches. Montano's the man who throws them straighter and shorter.
That mouthpiece in, man.
Left hook from Montano. Headshot numbers a commanding edge, 141 and counting. Of course, punch track numbers in real time on Wednesday and Friday night fights. Three-punch combination, the last of which was a left to the body from Montano. Campos has won 6 straight, but Montano is now forcing him back, and he hurt him with that right hand up top. Uppercut lands. Campos is tough and game, but he has taken a beating as we come to the end of this 6th round. Still 2 to go.
You tired, man? Give me that bucket, the bigger bucket. The other bucket.
Engage him and knock him out. You gotta knock him out.
Luis
Put your hand down
Rivera,
here. Put your hand down.
lead
Put it one on
trainer
top.
for
Put it one on top.
Campos.
There you go. That's good. That's good. There you go.
Some action from the last round. All action belongs to Montano. He's doing it on the outside with the jab, setting up the right hand, and then he goes in close, even though he's the taller man. And he's able to get it done inside when he wants. And able right there to make the shorter man have to tie him up.
How you feel? How you feel? How you feel? I want to hear how you feel. You feel all right? You got to win the fight. You got to do it, man, because you got to hit. You hurt? Okay, my boss. Okay. My boss, I'm sorry, man. Like that water.
Ramon Montano. Been showcasing his stuff course of the past year on our ESPN boxing series, and he feels he is getting better and better under the tutelage of former world champion Richie Sandoval. Speaking of world champions, we are so glad to have Ray Boom Boom Mancini as our guest analyst tonight. Ray, Teddy picked up on it early. Ramon Montano has the ability to get it done both on the outside and the inside. Do you feel that's the big advantage for him?
Yes, one thing I've been noticing myself, to reiterate what Teddy said, he gets leverage on the shots on the inside. He knows how to dig them body shots, and then when he gets on the outside, he gets the right range. He doesn't get too far out. And to me, he's the best 13-4 fighter I've ever seen. This kid is the real deal. So I don't know what type of opponent he was fighting earlier, but I love watching this kid. He's exciting to watch. He's got power and speed in both hands, and I think he's putting on a performance right now. He's putting on a real boxing exhibition.
So Ray says the best 13-win, 4-2-win fighter he's ever seen. A very nice compliment coming from the former lightweight champion. We'll hear from Boom Boom all night long.
The biggest turnaround in this fight, we talked about early that Montano sometimes gave up his height. He would fall in with punches, make it easy for Campos to be in close. But the problem is Campos doesn't want to be in close anymore, as Montano has outfought him in those parameters. And you can see now, Montano or Campos not going inside with any vigor, with any confidence, with any passion like he was early. And that means he has no chance to win this fight. It looks like that confidence, that vigor, has been knocked out of him by Montano. And that's the worst thing that can happen to a fighter. Ray will tell you that. It's for a fighter's belief, his confidence, or his will to be taken away. It looks like Montano has done some of that to Campos. Look at Campos, just look at his body language. You can see it. I know Ray sees it. Here's a guy that came out early with the fires burning, wanting to get inside, knowing he had to get inside. And now you don't see that kind of direction or urgency to get inside.
Not at all. His corner sensed it after the last round, asking if he was okay. They'll have one round to go here in Tulsa.
If you think all batteries are the same, consider this. When an AirLife Denver helicopter takes off, it's always a matter of life and death. And when any of their critical equipment depends on a battery, AirLife trusts Duracell. Trusted everywhere.
New Q horsepower is here, and no leading synthetic oil delivers more power than Q horsepower. Unleash all your horses.
Smaller and lighter, with high-speed internet, a 2-megapixel camera, and email in over 130 countries. It has the intelligence you require, with the beauty you desire. The all-new BlackBerry Curve, only from AT&T, the world's leading provider of BlackBerry service. Singular's name is now AT&T.
24-year-old Ramon Montano, the Vegas-based junior welterweight who's been in control tonight in what has been an entertaining fight against Derrick Campos. Montano in the red gloves, Campos in the black gloves. Last 3 rounds, Montano has been in complete control with a 32-4 connect advantage. Before this last round, Campos' corner told him go out and box for the first minute, and then we have to let everything out and go hard the last 2 minutes. But you can see Montano just picking him apart. Great accuracy.
And again, you see the different mindset. A mindset that was changed by Montano. He changed Campos' mindset. You change a fighter's mindset, you win the fight. Campos knew early on he had to be inside. He doesn't look like he cares to know that anymore.
Staying on the outside, surviving here in this last round. Now he lunges to the inside. Gets into the pocket and chooses to go away.
And you use the right word. life and being successful in life, whether it's boxing or anything else, is about choosing. Campos has made a choice not to do the things he needs to do. He's had his mind changed by Montano.
Same fighter that in the first 90 seconds of the fourth round had jumped on Montano. Remember, he landed that big right hand and then flurried and then landed a significant uppercut, and Montano rallied back and won that fourth round, according to Teddy and most here. And since then, kind of took the spirit and broke Campos a bit, especially these last 3 rounds.
It's hard to find confidence, as we said very early, when you're the shorter man and you get inside where your corner and everyone tells you you need to be, and you get blasted out of there. Then where do you go? I'll tell you where you go. You start drifting and floating around the ring and waiting for rounds to go by. And that's what Campos has done to a certain extent.
Ramon Montano told us he's more experienced, he's stronger, he's hungrier now than he's ever been. Looked that way, didn't it? We will come back and make it official here on Friday Night Fights.
Down 2 at Lucky Star Casino, produced by C3 Fights. Better fighters, better fights.
Guitar lessons on demand. One of the thousands of free choices you'll find on demand from Cox.
Wow, you sure this is your first lesson?
Performance is a reflection of how I take care of myself. GNC Mega Man Sport Multivitamin helps me do just that. It's a proprietary sports blend enhanced with antioxidants plus key amino acids. Game day starts with my multivitamin from GNC. Live well.
It's the AutoZone Rewards Card, and it's free to every AutoZone customer. It's simple. The more you shop at AutoZone, the more rewards you earn. So get your free rewards card today. It's our way of saying we're proud to have you as a customer. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
Introducing the biggest stride in sports drinks in over 30 years. New Accelerate with protein. Proven to increase endurance up to 29% over your old sports drink. So while others fade, you can stay strong. Sweat smarter. Don't fade. Accelerate.
$1 Million Elm Casino in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It has become a regular stop on our Friday Night Fights tour. We opened up with a pretty good one, especially in the fourth round when Derrick Campos jumped on Ramon Montano, Teddy.
Yeah, and that was good and bad news. The good news was the beginning, when Campos was able to get in close to use those shorter arms where he needed to be. The bad news was right around now, when all of a sudden Montano started taking over in close with those more accurate punches and beating him inside.
The fight was never the same after that action from the sixth round when Montano scored well. In fact, he had a 47-12 connect advantage in that sixth round, including 43 of those punches going to the head. And he would post home from there. So let's wrap things up with the Punch Track fight recap brought to you by Just for Men Hair Color. A 200-86 advantage on headshots for Ramon Montano. Teddy Atlas's scorecard, even early, and even in those rounds that Campos did well early where he hurt Montano, Montano came roaring back to win the round, so 80-73. Now let's send it up to the ring and hear what Pat Harker has to say about the scores.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 8 rounds of boxing, we go to our judges' scorecard. Ladies and gentlemen, all 3 judges scored the bout 80-72 for our winner by unanimous decision from the blue corner, Ramon Montano.
Ramon Montano with a unanimous decision shutout win. It ends the 6-fight win streak of Derrick Campos. Of course, Allan Green still to come in our main event against Darrell Woods. But first, Ray Boom Boom Mancini and Brian Kenny.
Joe, thank you so much. Busy fight weekend. Lot to talk about. Again, classic ringside regular Ray Boom Boom Mancini is here, former lightweight champion of the world. Let's get right to it. Talk about very good welterweight battle here. Antonio Margarito has gone from the most ducked fighter in boxing to suddenly a man with some very high-risk options. Margarito turned down a bout with Miguel Cotto for a fight with Paul Williams. Now, a showdown with Cotto now awaits, but getting by Williams is far from given. Let's look at the tail of the tape. And everything Margarito is, it would seem, Williams is a bit more. Margarito, a big welterweight, 5'11", large frame. He's 29 years old. He's in his prime. Williams, though, Breland-esque, I would say,
Yes,
Ray.
yes,
6'1". At 147, he is ranked number 10 in the Ring Magazine ratings. Margarito, number 2. Of course, the champ at welterweight is Floyd Mayweather. Williams also, again, 25 years old. Taller, younger, 25-0. So let's take a look. Again, Antonio Margarito, he throws a lot of combinations. He's got a real arsenal, offensively. Ray, your thoughts on him?
Well, he uses his height and his leverage to throw the big bombs from the outside. He's got exceptionally long arms. He's as tough as they come. I mean, this guy he's a murderous guy in the ring, and no wonder why nobody wants to fight him. He's been avoided for years.
Margarito, again, putting down Kermit Cintrone there. We'll talk about him. He's back in the ring this weekend as well. But Paul Williams, a man on the move. And when he turned down Cotto, and look, there's money issues, contractual issues, and you wonder, what's really going on. However, he did bypass that showdown to fight this guy, who against Sharmba Mitchell looked like a killer. Now against Walter Matisse, kind of hittable, Ray. We watched that fight together.
Yes, I mean, he's a very good fighter, man. Tall, rangy. I think he's going to give Margarito a lot of problems,
Here's Paul Williams.
Once I get in the ring with him and I get in my rhythm, my skill level going to dictate to how I'm going to fight this guy. Sometimes I'm being up banging with him. Sometimes I'm going to be on the outside on him. It all depends on how I feel once I get in there and I get in my rhythm. He's going to try to come in there and try to bone rush me. I know that, He's going to try to get his respect, real soon. So I'm not worried about that. I got something that I can adapt to with that.
Yeah, just excited just thinking about it as you hear him talk about the fight. Margarito, meantime, says despite his great reach, he doesn't know how to take advantage of it. I've fought fighters with more experience than him. With a bigger punch, I'm not going to have a big problem. All right? Ray Boom Boom Mancini, is he going to have a problem?
I think it'll be difficult for him in the beginning, but I think eventually his punching power and it's just his durability and toughness will wear down Paul Williams. So I'm picking Margarito, of course.
So with the experience and everything else. You think now it looked a little hittable. Wider with the punches sometimes Margarito, and Williams seems to come straight out long and strong.
Right. Margarito's wide with his punches. Williams shoots him straight up the middle, which will make it interesting in the beginning, as I said. But again, I think his punching power and his toughness and durability will win out in the end.
Okay, should be an excellent fight. And again, if Margarito gets by, then there's the big fight with Miguel Cotto. That'll be huge. And then Floyd Mayweather rustling around. Who knows? Maybe he's lured out possibly against the winner of that fight. Meantime, Arturo Gatti, his first fight since his shot at the welterweight title. That was last year. Fan-friendly fight, so he's back for the first time as he goes in against Alfonso Gomez. The weigh-in, both men getting in at 147. Arturo Gatti, last time out, very disappointing. And he said he had personal problems, wasn't focused. Ray, I don't know. Against Carlos Baldomir, a lot of people thought he was kind of a live dog and might make a real challenge. He got beat up by Baldomir for the welterweight title. Look, this guy's been in all-time wars. Right. He's an all-time fan-friendly great. What do you think's left in the tank for him, Ray?
Well, I love Arturo. Arturo's a dear friend and one of my favorites. But I thought it was time to shut it down after the Mayweather fight. I really did. He's had a great career. He's made a lot of money. And he's got a lot of things going for him. He didn't need that fight.
Yeah, no, and he fights on. And now you've got Alfonso Gomez of Contender fame against Martin Concepcion here in 2007. Look, he brings it. What happens when they clash? Again, Gomez not the level of competition that Gatti is.
I was just going to say, I loved Gomez in the Contender. He was one of my favorites. But now he's stepping up to a whole different level of fighter in Arturo Gatti. I think, I just think Arturo's got too much experience, too much firepower. Even whatever he has left.
Even at that age, too much for Alfonso.
Too much for Alfonso Gomez.
Alfonso Gomez is 26 years old. You can see on the tail of the tape there. Gatti now 35, and Gatti was once again a world champion at 130 pounds first time around when he got that belt from Tracy Patterson. So, been a few years and a few pounds away, but Gatti and Gomez will go at it. Meantime, we saw Kermit Cintrone last time. Before we get to that, let's listen in first. Here's Arturo Gatti.
Gomez, I don't have much to say about him. I know he's coming from a contender. There's a reason why there's a few guys that fought on a contender, because they didn't want to pick the real fighters, because there wouldn't be no show. There wouldn't be no seasons, because guys were being knocked out.
You know, the contender guys seem to get this all the time. It's not like they were picked off the street, Ray, and got it. I know Peter Manfredo took that after his, the lackluster effort against Calzaghe. But these guys were pros fighting main events before they went on to contender. Do they deserve this sort of thing?
The unfortunate part is the biggest highlight of the career is they're going to be the contender champion.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I like some of these fights. The first year I thought was great. Guys on a climb. There's give them good exposure. I mean, last year, come on, man. I thought it was a little. Getting guys a little long in the tooth, putting them on
second
TV.
chance, Ray.
Yeah, you know what? Hey, I'm all for any fighter. Alfonso Gomez is a good fighter, one of my favorites. But again, it's a different level fighter when he's fighting Arturo Gatti. Too much experience, too many guns, and too much firepower, and Arturo wins.
All right, let's get back to Kermit Cintron. Just mentioned him. Cintron back in the ring again, has his career kind of back on track. He's going to be taking on Walter Matisse, man. You saw it in highlights. But by the way, Matisse had his moments against Paul Williams. I mean, we saw in highlights he's getting roughed up there, but he had his moments. Tail of the tape with Cintron, who's still 27 years old, got to boxing kind of late in the game, was a high school wrestler, a good wrestler, in fact. So he's back, and now he's trained by Manny Stewart. So Cintron, again, you would figure, is back in the mix here at 147, has one of the belts. Ray, don't pay attention to that. Pay attention to the real champ. That's Floyd Mayweather. But he has a belt, and bottom line, going in against David Estrada here, really showed quite a bit and showed that he was shaking off the effects of the loss to Antonio Margarito. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, he looks sharp here, against David Valdez. And, I mean, he's got a belt. I mean, I hope it holds up his pants. That's all it's good for. That's all it's good for. I mean, Floyd Mayweather is the welterweight champ of the world, but he is a good fighter. So I'm looking for an exciting fight, and I'm picking Cintron.
And you have two guys who have great knockout records, almost identical. So this fight definitely would be over with probably within 7 rounds. But in the meantime, it's a lot of excitement. And I feel that Kermit's all-around boxing talent and experience will prevail, and he'll win by knockout. But it's going to be a rough fight up until that point.
All right, so that fight again, once again, you've got fights in California, you got fights in Atlantic City, and also you have a fight in Biloxi, Mississippi. And guess who's there? For about a full decade, Roy Jones Jr. was the top fighter in the sport, pound for pound, and the most exciting fighter in the sport. He's now 38 years old, and 3 straight losses that he took in 2004 and 2005 has not convinced him to stop fighting. Tomorrow night, Biloxi, Mississippi, first fight in nearly a year. Jones will take on Anthony Hanshaw. Let's look back to last year. Again, Roy's showing that he really just wants to fight because, look, he's not fighting on HBO anymore, Ray. He comes out, he's fighting Prince Badia Jamu in Boise, Idaho in the middle of the summer on a small-time pay-per-view. Now, he got pushed around early by Ajamu in this fight, but afterwards it was like watching, Roy Jones without that extra electricity. Now, this guy just clearly likes to fight, Ray.
Yeah, he must. Look, Roy Jones, his ability, and, the talent he had and the skills he had is undeniable.
Let's talk Hanshaw for a moment. We're going to talk Roy in a moment. But Anthony Hanshaw, what type of fighter is he?
I know Anthony Hanshaw. He's from the Warren, Ohio area, and he's always been a tough fighter. He beat Kelly Pavlik in the 2000 Olympic trials. He had a good, extensive amateur career, but I think now he's a little long in the tooth. And then
he's 29.
Yeah,
compared to Roy.
Yeah, a little long in the tooth is for the
really?
game, and I think Roy will play with him.
All right, Roy Jones, really? All right, we'll talk about that. Roy Jones, again, 38 years old now. Again, just before those 3 straight losses, he beat a top 10 heavyweight, actually a top 5 heavyweight in John Ruiz. Here's Roy Jones.
He don't know how to lose, and he's never lost. So he got to come to my class. Holla at y'all.
All right, look, he clearly enjoys doing it. Ray, you were 24 when you first retired, right?
Right. And
then you came back, and you little, dribs and drabs came back for some paydays here and there.
I remember 24 is when I officially retired as an active fighter.
Why do you think, Roy Jones is still going at it, given the heights he was at, and then how he got kind of beat up in those 3 fights that he had in those losses?
Yeah, well, he got beat up, and that's when he should shut it down. Look, people come back for a variety of reasons, various reasons, but I'm going to quote the great Napoleon. Napoleon once said, after 30, a man's spirit is not made for war. And it's not. Oh, you don't know? I knew that
That's
stuff.
heavy.
I'm educated. That's heavy,
I'm going to let that sink in for a moment. Good stuff. You go to Ray, you never know what you're going to get. All right, good stuff, Ray. Good luck to Roy if he wants to fight. You hope guys don't get hurt. If he wants to fight and he doesn't need, the top glory that he had, Good for him. He didn't seem to want it that badly when he was on top, though. That's what seems to get me.
Brian, now he's on pay-per-view, which is like the Siberia of boxing, because it's not even on cable or anything. Like, I mean, it's a local pay-per-view. Used to be that to be on pay-per-view was for the...
Well, there's different levels of pay-per-view now.
Exactly.
This is like the outskirts of pay-per-view.
And he was on pay-per-view when he was an elite fighter.
Right.
But he's not now. Say goodnight right off the sunset like John Wayne.
Yeah. He must be on all these things. Anyway, here's what you're saying on the web. We asked you, which fight are you most interested in watching on Saturday? You can't fool the people. Look at that. Margarito Williams. Although I would say Roy Jones, Anthony Henshaw is coming up close. Of course, you have to pay extra to see that. You know, look, you pay for your cable service, but you'd have to pay extra for that. We'll see how many people actually will buy that Roy Jones fight. Again, good luck to him. When we come back, more live boxing. Again, Boom Boom Mancini's here with us all night long. But when we return, we've got live bouts. Back with Jim Franklin, Mike Cooper.
When my doctor told me my high blood pressure may have led to my erectile dysfunction, I was surprised. But then he said there was something I could do.
When I found out my diabetes could have led to my ED, I learned there was help.
My doctor told me about Levitra.
Levitra is clinically proven to work for men with ED, even those with high blood pressure or diabetes. Levitra is only for men healthy enough for sexual activity. If you have heart problems or are on alpha blocker therapy, talk to your doctor before taking Levitra. Do not take Levitra if you take nitrates for chest pains, as this may cause an unsafe drop in blood pressure. Side effects may include headache, flushing and stuffy or runny nose. To avoid long-term injury, seek immediate medical help if you experience an erection lasting longer than 4 hours. If you have any sudden decrease in vision, stop taking Levitra and call your doctor right away.
Doctors know Levitra helps treat ED, even in men with high blood pressure.
And in men with diabetes.
Over 1 million men just like me have already taken Levitra.
You should talk to your doctor about Levitra.
The more you know about ED, the more you'll want to know about Levitra.
Friday Night Fights presented by Just for Men Hair Color. We are in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That is the home to the 8th best super middleweight in the world, Sweetness Allan Green. He is coming up in our main event. He can fight, he can sell, and he's always selling watching him fight. Tonight he takes on Darrell Woods.
Darrell Woods has a good right hand. He's a cagey veteran. And, you know, the moment presents itself, he will come to fight. He will come to fight. But like I said, I have to thwart any plans that he has on going the distance. But people should watch this fight because, I mean, for one, I'm on there, and it is my first fight back. And I'm in there against a named guy. I mean, not a named guy, but a guy who just beat a hot prospect, Samuel Miller. So people should tune in.
So Allan Green, Darrell Woods still to come in our main event. First, we're going to squeeze in cruiserweights. 4 rounds of action between Jim Franklin and Tulsa's very own Mike Cooper. There's Jim Franklin, 31 years old, 6'1", 200 pounds even, 8 up, 8 down, but he lost 6 straight by TKO recently before coming up with a 4-round win on June 30th. Mike Cooper, 36 years old, 5'11", 193 from right here in Tulsa, 7-1. He has won 4 straight by TKO. Teddy, you put those two together, what do you get?
Gave instructions in the dressing room.
I'm afraid to answer, but my first question, quite seriously, is should a commission be allowing Franklin to fight? He's lost 7 of his last 8, 6, as you said, by knockout. Not that he's in there with a monster. I mean, Cooper's far from a monster, but he's 7-1. You know, all but we know about those records being misleading. All but one of Cooper's fights have been in Oklahoma, the other in nearby Missouri. Soft commissions, you can build records. He has 6 knockouts in 7 fights. We talk about that. That can be very, very misleading. Doesn't always mean power. In this case, it can mean the lack of opposition, the low level of competition that Cooper has knocked out.
Mike England's the 3rd man inside the ropes for this scheduled 4-rounder. Cooper is in the red, and Franklin is in the gray camouflage.
And the only loss that Cooper has, of course, he suffered a knockout in that loss.
That was against Aaron Williams back in February of 2005. Jimmy Franklin has fought mostly in Missouri and Kansas. He did fight in New Jersey once. He went up against the prospect BJ Flores, and he lost a 4-rounder. That was back in 2003.
Cooper has been in very soft so far in his career, and he's in soft again tonight. And Both guys have a little softness in that belly region. Either one would be well served to test downstairs. Some gaps of inactivity for Franklin. In 2004, 1 fight. And in 2005, only 1 fight for Franklin. Franklin took this fight only on a few days' notice, but he was last in the ring only 2 weeks ago. And his weight would indicate that he's been in the gym. He's 9 pounds less tonight, Franklin is, than he was 2 weeks ago when he got in the ring.
Cooper goes to the body with that jab. Now he gets to the inside and is able to place a straight right hand. Franklin comes back with a jab of his own.
Well, Cooper has come here in the best shape that he could for his television debut. Cooper coming in the lightest weight of his career.
Cooper checked in at 193. His weight as much as 204. In his last fight, he was 199. Personal trainer, owns a boxing gym here in Tulsa. Helps out with some of the amateur fighters in town. Even though he got a late start to his pro career, he actually fought as an amateur, landed a right hand there when he was 15 years old.
You can see neither fighter, forget about their talent or their lack of, but neither fighter throws punches with what you would term bad intentions. Matter of fact,
a lot of don't hit me's out there, right?
Yeah, a lot of don't hit me, keep me off your punches. The idea, of course, is to punch through the surface. If you watch these guys, and you see it right there with Cooper, he punches to the surface, not through the surface.
Coming to the end of this first round, you know, so many times in boxing, we hear about the ills and some of the bad choices that boxing promoters make. Tony Holden is the local promoter here in Oklahoma. He's been our host many times, and I think he has made a wonderful decision here in Oklahoma. He's gotten the local commission to approve the use of IVs after a fighter weighs in. Now, Holden pays out-of-pocket expenses of his own to provide the doctors and the IV. So if a fighter feels drained, if a fighter had a tough time making weight, he can get a little something back, Teddy, and I think this helps out greatly with the safety of the sport.
Yeah, I agree. Matter of fact, I said that the last time we were here in Oklahoma when we brought up this very issue that Holden was doing this practice. And anything that can make this sport safer and anything that can ensure the safety of the fighters and help them be prepared when they get in that ring, I'm all for. But my question, that opens up a little bit of a can of worms. What he's doing is terrific. And again, it's only positive. But what it opens up is, are these fighters making the proper weight that they have to come down and suffer themselves so much that they need intravenous the night before they get into the ring to do battle? Should they be coming in at a higher weight? Should their promoters, should their trainers, should their managers be making sure that they're fighting at a better selective weight for themselves? And also, are they learning the right ways to lose the weight?
No, that comes down to their own camp, right, Teddy? Their manager in terms of taking a fight at a certain weight, and their trainer in terms of the conduct he takes and the course he takes of getting him to that weight.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I'm glad that Holden is doing something positive here that's looking out for the health of the fighters. But again, those other questions are questions that the commissions have to look at. And right now, Cooper on the attack. Again, not a lot of damaging punches, but he's letting them go.
Franklin trying to fight his way out of that position. And he's going to get a little help from Mike England, the referee, who gives the warning of the low blow. So he escapes from that blue corner.
Both fighters have some swelling around their eyes. Cooper around the right eye, below the right eye, and Franklin in the left eye.
Franklin's not firing back right now. Remember, it wasn't long ago that he had 6 straight TKO losses. Another warning from Mike England separates them and gets Franklin out of trouble. But still, a minute 20 to work with. Left hook lands. And you can see the bruising and the exhaustion of Franklin. And Cooper jumps on him again in that blue corner, and Franklin tries to fire between punches.
Well, you can see Franklin His problem is for defense, he just covers up, but he doesn't move his head. So if you put punches together like Cooper, you keep him handcuffed, and some are going to get through. The hope for Franklin, though, Joe, and there is hope for him, and he's cashed in a little bit on that, is when Cooper's throwing, there's gaps while he throws. He's a little wide. And if you punch with him, and Franklin has in spots like that, you can find them. In other words, neither one of these guys are exactly hard to find.
Blood coming from the nose of Jim Franklin in the gray camouflage.
The old timers would say both these fellas get insulted if you miss them.
Right hands land 3 of them from Cooper.
Plenty of gameness from Franklin.
End of 2.
Houston, we are on final approach to the easiest place in the universe to book a room. Touchdown. The Bodad has landed. Motel6.com. We'll leave the light on for you.
Ladies and gentlemen. Can I have it like that?
You got it like that.
Can I have it like that?
You got it like that.
Can I have it like that?
You got it like that.
Can I have it like that?
You got it like that.
So.
Introducing an automotive breakthrough. ZNet, only at AutoZone. Now AutoZoners have the power to find you the right part faster with diagrams, photos, and instructions. So you'll get the job done right the first time, every time. ZNet, only at AutoZone.
Excuse my English, but this ain't pretty. But it was effective for Cooper, hitting Franklin on the ropes, wide punches, but punches just the same.
Entertaining and ugly second round that Cooper got the best of with a 43-28 connect advantage. He threw 123 punches in that second round. Round 3, Cooper is 7-1. He's from Tulsa, right here. We're just on the outskirts of town at the Osage $1 Million Elm Casino, which has become the home to top 10 super middleweight Allan Green over the course of recent years. Green is still coming up in our main event, taking on the veteran Darrell Woods, who had one of the most exciting fights we've seen this year earlier on Friday Night Fights.
And I guess to be fair, and I always try to be fair, if I'm critical, I will make an adjustment if I think an adjustment should be made. I asked a question at the beginning of this fight: should a commission be allowing Franklin to fight after he's lost 7 of his last 8, 6 by knockout? Some you could say no, but I guess the answer is you can if you know that the opponent, even though he's 7-1, in this case Cooper, is not a monster, is not a very talented opponent that will really hurt a guy like Franklin, who has been beat 7 of his last 8.
I think that's yet another characteristic that a commission has to have, is being good at understanding matchups and understanding what the matchup is in front of them, especially when we talk about these 4-round fights that make up the undercards.
Matter of fact, a moment ago, Franklin in the gray camouflage went to the body. He's the only man to have gone to the body really tonight. The soft body that is there on both men.
Right hand landed as they both opened up, throwing right hands. Now he places a jab in there, does Franklin. Damon Reed, the trainer of Jim Franklin, told him after that second round where he took a beating, he said, I know you have 6 minutes left to be on ESPN. And he showed up much stronger here in his 3rd round.
Neither one of these fighters young by terms of usual ways we look at fighters' careers. Franklin 31, Cooper 36. Cooper turned pro at a very late 33.
They will have 1 round to go. Franklin and Cooper in Tulsa.
Okay, sir, you're all set with your Cox Digital Services.
That's great. My wife said you guys got some big trophy?
Yep, highest in customer satisfaction.
Good. Maybe we can give a few tips to my lawn guy.
Not everyone can make their customers happy, but at Cox, it's our #1 goal.
What's going on? We're launching Power Boost. Power Boost makes Cox high-speed internet's already fast downloads even faster. Hit the switch, Johnson.
This will blow people's minds.
Introducing Power Boost, another thing you won't get from AT&T DSL.
Good fight, guys. Fourth and final round between Jim Franklin in the camouflage and Mike Cooper, the 7'1", 36-year-old from right here in Tulsa in the red. Ray Boom Boom Mancini, our studio guest tonight with Brian Kenny. We'll be hearing from him in moments. Allan Green still to come in the main event. Next week on Friday Night Fights, by the way, the guest analyst in studio will be Marvelous Marvin Hagler and Oscar De La Hoya with Brian Kenny in Las Vegas on the night before Bernard Hopkins takes on Winky Wright.
That's the benefit sometimes of setting up your studio in Las Vegas.
Boy, what a combination that is. Hagler and De La Hoya next week on Friday Night Fights.
We mentioned earlier where Cooper has accumulated his fights. Most of Franklin's fights have come in the state of Missouri.
Now Cooper trying to let those hands go a little more than he did in the third round. Franklin took that third round after having a real harsh second round. Got to give him credit for having the heart.
Right there, Franklin showed a little ability to counter. Most of the time, fighters on this level don't do that. They just come forward and get everything on the front end with their leads. But there you see Franklin a moment ago scored with the right hand as he allowed Cooper to walk into it.
Boy, how things are going to change in this very same ring in moments in terms of speed and skill when we get to our main event.
Oh, yes, it will.
Going from these two to Allan Green and Darrell Woods. Darrell Woods has proved that he has a lot of skill and a ton of heart. His fight against Samuel Miller earlier this year was a thriller.
For the most part, both these fighters pretty even in the ability department. But for the most part, Cooper's been just a little bit more aggressive, and that has carried him on my scorecard with a little bit of an edge. Although right now, Franklin again showing the ability every once in a while, the ability that Cooper has not shown, the ability to catch Cooper as he comes in once in a while. Again, Cooper getting all his offense done on the front end by just coming forward. Franklin's gotten a little bit of it done on the back end, once in a while with a counter.
Step! Let go. Get back. Box.
So Franklin and Cooper wrap it up after 4 rounds. Had its moments. Franklin raises his hand. We will come back and see which way it goes when we come back to Tulsa.
Summer action is here. The Bourne Ultimatum, August 3rd. The Allstate 400, July 29th on ESPN.
It's the AutoZone Rewards Card, and it's free to every AutoZone customer. It's simple. The more you shop at AutoZone, the more rewards you earn. So get your free rewards card today. It's our way of saying we're proud to have you as a customer. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
Want to see something cool? Motel6.com is the easiest place to book a great room online. See, when you start in the right spot, everything else just kind of falls into place. We'll leave the light on for you.
My performance is a reflection of how I take care of myself. GNC Mega Man Sport Multivitamin helps me do just that. It's a proprietary sports blend enhanced with antioxidants plus key amino acids. Game day starts with my multivitamin from GNC. Live well.
Oh, for the last time, our minutes don't expire. Whose minutes are these?
Mom, it's April. Those minutes are from September.
They still work.
Yeah, but they're from September.
They're rollover minutes. They're exactly the same. You know, there's some people who don't have any leftover minutes at all. You keep that in mind, mister.
Switch to AT&T's Family Talk, the only family plan with rollover. It's the fairest deal in wireless. Buy any phone and get up to 4 free. Singular's name is now AT&T.
On 10-game road trips, sportscasters like me and the skipper depend on Motel 6 for a great rate and plenty of post-game shutout.
So we don't miss 1 second of the action.
Try the decaf, Skipper. We'll leave the light on for you.
I need that back, Bob.
Next week, it is a busy week of back-to-back fight cards. First, Wednesday night fights will be in Boston for Mike Oliver against Cruz Carvajal in an IBF Eliminator. Then heavyweights in Miami, Fresakendo and Elisir Castillo, plus Daniel Edward and Aramaseli Albert. And we'll be in Vegas to preview Bernard Winky with marvelous Marvin Hagler and Oscar De La Hoya as the special guest analyst on Friday Night Fights. That's next week on ESPN Boxing. As for this week, we are closing in on our main event, but first we wrap up our 4-round cruiserweight action, the total punches. Jim Franklin, a 106-97 edge over Mike Cooper. But Mike Cooper had the more effective work and was the aggressor throughout, and a slight advantage, 39-38 in even 4th round on Teddy Atlas's scorecard. Let's send it up to the ring now to Pat Harker.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 4 rounds of boxing in the cruiserweight division, we go to our decision. All 3 judges score this bout 38-38, a draw.
38-38, a draw between Franklin and Cooper.
Well, that was in sync with what I was looking at, because I had the last round 10-10. Of course, if I would have favored Franklin, we would have had that same 38-38 score. So no argument over here.
The tortoises are leaving. The hares are coming. Our main event will feature Darrell Woods against this man, Allan Green, number 8 in the world, super middleweight. For now, here's Brian Kenny and Boom Boom.
All right, we're going to talk about what could be the best matchup of the year. First, though, the top guy in the sport at the heavyweight division. Many reports out saying Vladimir Klitschko broke his finger, has a broken hand after his fight with Layman Brewster this past Saturday night. Klitschko, though, has since overruled his assistant trainer. He says there's damage to his finger, but there's no break. He's all right. Either way, another very impressive performance for Vladimir Klitschko, the #1 heavyweight in the world. Let's take a look. Avenging his 2004 loss to Layman Brewster. And while he hasn't matched up with the other titleists in the heavyweight division yet, Ray, he's now gone through Sam Peter, Chris Bird, Calvin Brock, Ray Austin, and now Layman Brewster, 4 out of 5 by knockout. Controlled this fight with the jab.
Right. It was nothing fancy. Straight punches up the middle, jab, 1-2, jab, 1-2, and he just busted him up, you know, took his heart away.
Why do you think Brewster came in, and where he has gone to war with Blachowicz, again, he hung in long enough for Klitschko to go away in the last fight, and this one just did not have that fire.
You know, that's good. It's the one, you know, it wasn't good this day. You know, you got to be perfect that day. That day he wasn't. But, you know, he's a little bit older now. Klitschko's got also a little more firepower, a little more confidence as a champion. Yeah. And, you know, he came in and, he, like I said, straight punches up the middle.
Vladimir Klitschko gets the win. Now let's celebrate what happened this week as a true champion takes on his true #1 contender. Joe Calzaghe will defend his Ring Magazine and Super Middleweight World Championship November 3rd in Wales Football Stadium. 75,000 people will be there for Calzaghe versus Mikkel Kessler. 2 unbeaten, charismatic champions head-to-head. Calzaghe has had a belt for nearly 10 years, Ray, but he solidified it and validated his position when he dominated Jeff Lacey rather than pass the torch. Many people thought, all right, time to pass the torch to this kid. He's 35, but he's got a lot left. Obviously, took on Peter Manfredo, wasn't even competitive. Calzaghe was really weighing his options. He had him here on Friday Night Fights. He was thinking of Jermaine Taylor. Instead, he takes on the Viking Warrior. Mikkel Kessler, he has 3 wins in the top 10. Calzaghe has just 1. Kessler, you watch the footage, Ray. This guy's quite impressive.
Oh, yes. I've talked to many people since I've heard about this fight, and everyone I've talked to is picking Kessler to beat him.
Really?
But
I'm not stunned, but I figure it'd be split.
I like both guys very much. But again, Joe Calzaghe hasn't lost in 12 years since he was an amateur.
Right.
Plus, I can't go against a Kujin, so I got to go for my guy, Joe Calzaghe.
Look, you know what? I think this is great, though, that, and look, any super fight would be great if you fight Jermaine Taylor or anyone else, but there's something to this of having the real champion where people can identify now with Calzaghe. There's his true number 1. If he's not, he's got a couple of belts, too, that they're finally getting together. I just hope this can be big in the United States as well. I mentioned it's going to have 75,000 people in Wales.
Yes, I mean, the fight fans will watch this. Fight fans know both Calzaghe and Kessler from the last couple of fights, being on HBO and watching on the networks. And so, people know who they are, yes.
Yeah, I hope so. Look, we're going to talk about it here because it's the type of thing that you want to see in this sport. Hey, Allan Green is a player in this very division, 168 pounds. He's in our main event tonight. Let's get to that. Joe and Teddy.
Thanks, BK. He is a player indeed. Champions, of course, are defined by the way they respond to adversity, and it's time for Allan Green's response as he makes his way here in front of the home fans. He was skyrocketing to the top before stumbling down, and now Tulsa's hometown hopeful faces off against the very capable veteran, Darrell Woods. He is tall, fast, and smart, skilled, strong, and confident. Allan Green has always had the characteristics of a future champ. A year ago, he confirmed everything everyone was saying about him, effortlessly blowing out popular contender star Anthony Bonsante. Then last October, he faced off with the well-regarded former Olympian Jerson Ravello. With the KO win, Green meant go right towards a big payday. The showdown would be set for March 3rd in Puerto Rico. Like Green, his opponent Edison Miranda was among the very few elite title challengers to watch. Green wasn't himself that night, battling an energy-zapping illness as well as Miranda. In the 8th, Green scored a knockdown. But in the 10th, Miranda scored 2 knockdowns of his own and was off to a unanimous decision win.
It was the hardest thing I probably ever had to endure in my life. It was extremely hard. I mean, it was hard. I'll tell you like this, my promoter told me in the dressing room he was strongly considering, he saw the look, he's been around, so he saw the look on my face, he saw that I wasn't sweating, so he almost called the fight right then and there, but me being the fighter that I am, I'm gonna fight anyway.
Much like other recent well-hyped fighters who were beaten badly in their first losses, Green is confident he will cash in again. Malignaggi and Cintron have titles. Joel Julio stamped his return on Wednesday Night Fights. As Green made his final preparations here in Tulsa, he did so knowing he's better now.
People were talking about me like I was never gonna fight again, like I was never a top contender, which I still am, like I was never a good fighter. I mean, I don't understand that. To really know what it feels like to be a champion, at some point in your life or your career, you've had to have lost before.
Darrell Woods is the target tonight. Other overly confident young guns have been stunned by Woods before. This past March, he won surely one of the most entertaining fights of the year. Facing then unbeaten slugger Samuel Miller, Woods was swarmed early. It was a first-round beatdown that seemed like it would result in an early exit.
What was so important in the Miller fight is that I showed that I stayed composed when a guy jumped on me real hard and threw some hard shots the first round. That would show me that, hey, I still have it. I stayed composed. I didn't get rattled from the punches he threw at me, because he threw great punches the first round.
Woods settled down with his jab, and it opened the door for right hands. He turned the table, scoring a knockdown in the second round and another early in the third. Miller was still game to the very end in a back-and-forth battle, but Woods pulled off the victory. Now the question is, can he do it in a more pressure-packed setting against a much more dangerous opponent? Allan Green has other plans.
I don't want to just be known as an exciting guy 5 years from now. I mean, I'm going to be the top dog. I'm going to be the top dog. It's just not about being an exciting guy with me. I mean, I still have a lot more years left in this game, a lot of them, and I'm going to be the top dog. I promise you that.
And he commented that he's feeling pretty good right now, about 75%, but 10 times better than he was in Puerto Rico. He's been dealing with the medical circumstances for some time, and now tonight he has to deal with Darrell Woods, who will turn 40 this year, finding a stride late in his game. He's won 4 straight fights, 6'2", so Green doesn't have the height advantage like he usually has. Allan Green from right here in Tulsa, 27 years old, 6'2", 167, 23-1 with 16 knockouts. And he says, we told you that he's still on the men. We'll see if that plays a factor tonight with his energy here against Woods. Teddy Atlas has the fight plan.
For Allan Green tonight against Woods, he's the bigger, stronger guy. How's he going to use that advantage? Well, if he can pin Woods on the ropes, that's a good place for him to be. I notice Woods, when he's on the ropes, he'd slip, he'd get away from shots, but he's got a habit of taking his right hand, moving it over to block right hands and back for left hooks. And the left hand is down. So who's going to be Woods? Well, Green gets him on the ropes and he's throwing a right hand and he's blocking both those shots like that. You can't block both if they come in succession. Right hand, left hook, right behind it. Look for Green to score big with that combination. For Woods to win tonight, tough task. We already touched on it. He's smaller, he's not as strong, he's not as young. He's gonna want to box with Green. But I think he's gonna have to sting Green, get his respect early, just to keep Green from walking right over him. How's he gonna do that? Well, first of all, he'll get a little bit of help because Saul's playing Green. He keeps the left hand down, he keeps it over on the right side. I think he's gonna walk in and look to just get rid of Woods. Well, Woods can invite him in like that old mousetrap. And what's the cheese? Right here. Woods drops his left hand, steps back a little bit, invites him, bang! Invite him in, beat him with the right hand, pull off a nice big upset.
Allan Green, that glossy, undefeated record, now with the one blemish, 23-1, looking to get back to winning form.
We're scheduled for 10 rounds. I want you to obey my commands. Protect yourself at all times. Trunks are a little high here. This is the line. Trunks are good there. Touch your gloves up. Let's go to work.
Gerald Ritter, referee for this scheduled 10-rounder. The ring experience, well, Woods has been around for a long, long time. He has seen it all. He has been in against many veterans, many prospects. In fact, he was in against Emmett Litton 21 months ago and defeated him. Remember, Emmett Litton gave Allan Green trouble
all the way
last year.
Move that way, brother.
As we talked about in the fight plan, Woods, the smaller man, he's coming in 8 pounds heavier than he was his last fight. He took this fight on about 11 days notice, so you gotta think about, with all the other problems that Woods is facing, what is his condition? Also, Woods was cut over his left eye, Joe, in his last fight.
That was that fight against Samuel Miller. Didn't take long, did it?
5, 6, 7. Green is 12 years younger than Woods, and he's much, much bigger. Youth, size, and strength. That can spell a quick exit sometimes for the older, smaller man.
Big shot there. Double left hook. Green all over Woods. The left hand's landing. Now the veteran does a veteran move. He ties up. But he is hurt and has 2 minutes to deal with it.
Again, let's put the
right hand scores. Woods didn't go down. Clinched again.
Right now, the best thing that Woods can do is clinch. In other words, survive the round and come up with another plan the next round. But right now, survive this one.
Allan Green looking to make a statement, and he just did. Welcome back to the win column, Allan Green.
We were talking about the size difference. We didn't get a chance to give you those numbers, but Green, much bigger. Most of his fights at light heavyweight, then he dropped to super middleweight. His last fight was the smallest of his career, just one shot at it at 162, but he's been a much bigger guy. Woods, much smaller his entire career between junior middle and middle, with most of his fights at junior middle. Green too young, too fast. Too big, too good.
Darrell Woods survived the onslaught by Samuel Miller the last time he fought, but he couldn't do so against the world top 10 ranked Allan Green. Let's recap the start from Green.
Well, you had the feeling, we talked about it, that Green would want to be aggressive right away, and it was with that right hand, as Woods gave him a little opening by laying his head over on the wrong side. Again, the right hand, not one, but two, and then the left hook behind it. And Woods giving him that alleyway for the right hand by keeping his head over on the right side. The end of the fight, you see Woods, he doesn't know what to do. He's in the southpaw stance right now, trying to survive, showing heart, doing the best he can, but not good enough as he stands on the ropes. And we talked about Green wanting to get Woods on the ropes, and exactly what he did. One more look at it. He's got him on the ropes. He's the bigger, faster man. He opens up. You cannot block all of them, and Woods could not block all of them.
The Just for Men hair color punch track fight recap. Not much to recap. 33 punches thrown by Green. He landed 13. Let's get the official particulars with Pat Harker.
Our referee Gerald Ritter stops about 1 minute 22 seconds of the first round. A big TKO win for Allan Sweetness Green.
How do fighters respond after they lose? Allan Green passed the test. The 24th win of his career, the 17th knockout of his career. Darrell Woods ousted in the first round. Allan Green scores the TKO. We will talk to him, but first, here's BK and Boom Boom.
All right, Ray, so that's the guy I expected to see against Edison Miranda. And as soon as he hit him with the right hand, oh, he's back.
Yes.
So it seems that that medical condition that kind of, hurt him and hurt his digestive system really did make such a huge difference against Miranda, because that looked like the guy that we had seen on the way up.
Right. Everyone, when they made the fight with Miranda, thought it was too dangerous a fight for Miranda. But when he fought him, he was like in slow motion. You know, he just couldn't get on track. And for whatever reason, and he said it was a medical condition. And you don't want to say those things because it sounds like an excuse, but it's just fact.
Right, and it looked like that tonight. Your thoughts now, again, as he's still in the top 10 as a super middleweight, and look, Kelly Pavlik's going to fight Jermaine Taylor at 160. Right. Of course, Calzaghe and Kessler are there, and this guy now, he's still in his prime on the way up.
He's right in the mix. He's right in the mix. First of all, Pavlik's going to fight Taylor for the 160 Taylor, but neither one guy is going to be at the 160 much longer. Both guys are going to be moving up.
Right.
This guy's right in the mix, in the thick of things. The winner of Kessler and Calzaghe. The loser is going to be still in the mix of things, so it's going to be an exciting division for a long time.
Now, what did you think? From what you could see there, I mean, the sheer aggression is impressive. What else did you see there in that brief fight that we just saw?
Quick hands, sharp punches, short, quick hand, right hand over the top. I mean, he moved his hands very well. That's what he couldn't do against Miranda. He looked very sluggish against Miranda, so obviously whatever was bothering him detracted from his performance. But tonight, sharp, looked real good, quick right hand. He's in the thick of things once again.
No, look, that was exciting, and that's the guy again that we've been talking about here on Friday Night Fights. We've had him here on the program a number of times, but again, he's a guy who has been tagged as a future champion. It looks like he's back on track. We're going to talk to Allan Green when we come back here on Friday Night Fights. We'll take a short break. When we come back, first we're going to go down and get back to Tulsa, Oklahoma. No, we will take a break. Then we're going to go to Allan Green. So we'll take a short break. When we return, Allan Green will hear his take of this short fight when we return.
The NASCAR Busch Series. Pumped up from his win at Daytona, Kyle Busch looks for payback against Iceman Jeff Burton at Chicago. NASCAR Busch Series at Chicago, presented by Old Spice. Saturday at 2:30 on ABC.
One morning you wake up and there it is, gray hair. And you wonder, will people see me for who I really am? How do you break out of that?
Just for Men stops gray from hiding who you are. Easy.
with 5-minute target gray technology.
Today's a whole new ball game. And then you wonder, why did I ever put up with gray hair?
Let the real you come through. Stay in the game with Just for Men.
Win a trip to see NASCAR's best at next year's Allstate 400 at the Brickyard. Enter now at ESPN.com. Search Allstate for a chance to win. The Allstate 400 at the Brickyard, Sunday, July 29th on ESPN.
There's never been an iPod that can do this. Or this. Or this. Or for that matter, this.
Lenny,
Hey, Roger.
we have to let you go.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah, thank you. Hi there. Thanks. Excuse me. The KFC next door now has teriyaki boneless wings. Teriyaki like you'd find here, only there in a combo for $3.99.
Introducing new teriyaki boneless wings at KFC. Restaurant flavor at a fast food value. 6 delicious boneless wings smothered in tangy teriyaki with wedges and a drink for just $3.99. Only at KFC. And don't forget about our honey barbecue boneless wings.
8 seconds left in my college career. 7 reasons not to throw. 6 months of play comes with this. 5 defenders to beat, 4 points to win, 3 to tie. 2 titles to defend, 1 yard to shatter Vince's miracle. NCAA Football 08, rated E for everyone. EA Sports, it's in the game.
This is what a popular hometown fighter does. He draws a big crowd, and right now they are on their feet, crowding this neutral corner in celebrating the victory by Allan Green, Ring Magazine's 8th-ranked super middleweight in the world, fresh off his win, first-round TKO over Darrell Woods, and he joins us now. First off, congratulations. I know this had to mean a lot to you after what happened back in March.
Yes, it did mean a lot. Thank you, Joe, first of all. It does mean a lot to me after what happened back in March. What happened in March was a fluke, and I wanted to show everybody tonight with a quick, impressive knockout against a game guy who beat Emmett Linton, who beat Samuel Miller, who's beat a lot of top prospects, and has gone the distance with a lot of guys. I wanted to show that I can get him out.
I will let Teddy and you analyze what happened in the first round as we take a look. Right from the start, it was the right hand, guys.
Yes, you know, Woods, he throws a lazy jab. He throws a lazy jab, and I knew I could get him with the right hand after watching tapes of him, because he just paused with his jab, as you can see, just to set up his right hand. So I've been working on the right hand because a lot of guys have been worried about my left hook.
And then you probably noticed from video that once he gets on the ropes, he likes to block. And
Yes.
you just stayed on there and you opened up with both guns.
I stayed on him. I had to put the ghost dog on him. That's what me and my co-trainer, Sweet Pea Peppy Johnson, has been working on, who's filling in for John David Jackson and Norman Wilson. We've been working on that because we've seen this guy fight, and he likes to play the ropes a lot and put his hands up. You got to be a smart fighter. It's a way to get in, but you got to be a smart fighter to be able to pick the right shots to get through a guy when he has his guard up.
You know what I was most impressed about? I was most impressed, not that you got a first round knockout, I was most impressed about if a fighter's going somewhere, if he's going to be a world champion, he's got to prepare in every dimension, in every element. And you obviously knew the fighter you were fighting. You knew that Samuel Miller jumped on him early, but he survived Samuel Miller.
Exactly.
But he showed a flaw early on. You figured, I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I'm better than Samuel Miller. If that opportunity was there for Miller, it'll be there for me, but I'll use it better.
Exactly. That's exactly what I did. Samuel Miller threw a lot of meaningless shots. He tired himself out. He really didn't pick his shots well, and I had to make it my duty to make sure I pick my shots well to catch him clean. And I knew once I did, I'd get him out of there.
Well, a man who does all his homework is a man who can be a world champ. So
a man who will be a world champ. And like I said before, I didn't come out here to box and give a lot of people a show. I wanted to come out here to make a statement, to serve notice to Joe Calzaghe, Mikael Kessler, Alejandro Barrio, Jermaine Taylor. Since I hear you coming up to super middleweight, if you want some, to any super middleweight, Manfredo or Lacey. Which Manfredo, I'm still waiting on my contract.
Now, what's the situation there? Because there have been reports that we have heard of a fall Peter Manfredo fight.
I'm still waiting on my contract. I mean, my palms are sweating, you know, my lips are dry. I haven't eaten in about, I'm hungry. I'm ready to fight anybody. Like I said, anybody in the super middleweight who wants a piece of this pie, who wants to take a trip to Candyland, which is where sweetness lives, and go to sleep, bring it.
How do you feel right now? We've talked a lot about your medical condition, the effects it had on March. I don't know that this tested that medical condition, but how do you feel in terms of that?
I feel a little better. I was about 75% tonight, but my beautiful fans that you can see in Tulsa, Oklahoma, look at them. They're beautiful. They all showed up to see me.
And they had a lot to enjoy tonight.
Yes, they gave me a strength.
Allan Green, congratulations. 24th win of his career, 17th win by knockout, first round TKO over Darrell Woods. Sweetness back in the win column.
Wouldn't you know it? One moment we're on the road to romance, when suddenly it gets interrupted. That's why for guys like me with ED, there's Cialis. Cialis is the only erectile dysfunction tablet clinically proven to both go to work fast in as little as 30 minutes for some men and work up to 36 hours. The fact that Cialis can work fast is great, but having up to 36 hours gives me the option of being ready once the moment is finally right.
Tell your doctor about your medical conditions and all medications and ask if you're healthy enough for sexual activity. Don't take Cialis if you take nitrates for chest pain, as this may cause an unsafe drop in blood pressure. Don't drink alcohol in excess with Cialis. Side effects may include headache, upset stomach, delayed backache, or muscle ache. To avoid long-term injury, seek immediate medical help if you experience priapism, an erection lasting more than 4 hours. If you have any sudden decrease in vision, stop taking Cialis and call your doctor right away.
Why ask your doctor about Cialis? Because even after an interruption,
Here in Oklahoma, not far away, is the Osage $1 Million Elm Casino, still buzzing after the TKO win by Allan Green. Now, another local gets to step in the ring. George Tahdooahnippah, who's 6-0 with 5 knockouts, against the seemingly overmatched Mike Jackson. That's Mike Jackson. He's 36 years old, 6'1", 165, 11 up, 14 down, and Mike Jackson is coming off of a KO loss in the first round. That is familiar territory for him. It happened 2 times last year. His last fight was in June of 2006. George Tahdooahnippah, that is how you pronounce it, George Tahdooahnippah. He is coming off 2 straight first-round knockout wins.
Okay, fighters, you've already received your instructions. We are scheduled for 4 rounds. Obey my commands. Protect yourself at all times. These trunks are good. These are way high. Right here. That's better. Right there's the line. Touch your gloves up. Let's have a good one.
So Gerald Ritter is the referee. Teddy, would this fall into that don't get up and grab a sandwich right now category?
Well, it would fall into the category that I asked the question earlier tonight, and I ask it again. And I'll readjust it if I have to, but Jackson has lost 6 of his last 9, all by knockout loss. Should he be commissioned to fight tonight? Now, Tahdooahnippah, all his fights have been here in Oklahoma, where he's been able to get very soft opposition. And obviously, looks like he got soft opposition again tonight. Now, Tahdooahnippah is 6-0 with 5 knockouts. I'll say it right away, no matter what happens. That is more product of kind opposition he has fought, rather than an indicator, I believe, of real power. If it's not bad enough for Jackson, he's been inactive. He's coming in this fight off a 1 year and 1 month layoff. And he's laying his head perilously on the right side, a side where you can eat right hands. Jackson is. By the way, did we mention that Jackson has been knocked out 12 times?
Well, we mentioned the recent knockouts. 12 is a nice number, nice and thick.
Oh, it's not a baker's dozen, it's a
knockout
conventional dozen. It may be a baker's dozen in a couple minutes.
13 on Friday the 13th may be coming.
Yes.
Tahdooahnippah, of course, has work to be done.
But again,
if he holds form, that would be the case.
Again,
Jackson just covering up and allowing Tahdooahnippah to let loose there for a moment. Covers up again. Tahdooahnippah delivers a right hand to the body.
And Tahdooahnippah right now in the southpaw position. And switches back for a moment. Well, he was in the clinch, and there it is. He's back to the orthodox. So Tahdooahnippah is showing that he's comfortable either side of the plate, lefty or righty. And there's the right hand I talked about.
You know where else he's comfortable? On the canvas. He's there often.
Well, as I said, Tahdooahnippah comfortable from the lefty or righty stance. It didn't matter. From the orthodox stance, he's able to do that.
Now they're going to get some medical attention in there to take a look.
Well, I guess my question, and now I'm going to say it loudly, and I said it before the fight, not after the fight. Jackson went in here having lost 6 of his last 9, all by knockout. Should he have been commissioned to fight tonight? Should he have been licensed?
He's nodding his head when they're asking him if he's okay, but he hasn't been moving since the knockdown. You know, this could be one of those knockdowns, and we're going to take a look back at it, where the impact of his head hitting the canvas may have been just as damaging as the impact of the punch.
Well, we mentioned early on that the opportunity for Tahdooahnippah to land the right hand was there because we said Jackson perilously kept his head over on his right side. An alley that leads to right hands connecting.
Tahdooahnippah lands the crushing right hand. Watch the back of the head. That's exactly what I'm talking about. The punch does damage, but just as bad is your body weight slamming down on the canvas and not bracing that fall and hitting the back of the head on the canvas. You know, you fall back like that, natural human instincts are to brace yourself under any circumstances, but when you've been knocked out, that is not connecting and telling your arms to break the fall.
And of course, what set up this punch was Jackson going straight back as Tahdooahnippah came in, going straight back with his chin up and his left hand down. Good news, the most important news right now is, as you can see right there, Jackson communicating with the doctors. The doctors are doing their job. They have put him in a neck brace just to make sure that he cannot move.
I'll give you some more good news, Teddy. He's able to move his extremities. He arced up his left leg and was able to put his left arm in position for them to cut off the gloves, and he did nod his head to respond yes when they asked him if he's all right. But they're doing the right thing. They're taking precautions, and they put the neck brace on. His head hit very, very hard.
No, they're going through the steps that you want to see doctors go through at ringside.
We're going to put you on a board.
They are making sure
We're going to be sliding his board under here.
that he's okay before they get him on the board.
Now, he wants out of that brace, and he's, you know, proud to be a fighter, and he wants to sit up. He's telling him, I'm all right. I don't need to be taken out on a stretcher. But at this point, you have to give way to what the medical professionals want.
And again, we want to let our fans know, as you just said, Joe, that as far as we can see, Jackson has control of all his extremities, his wits. He's talking to the doctors. He's conscious fully. But the doctors right now have this neck brace on him just to make sure that they are following the rules, the medical rules that they need to follow after a fighter has been knocked out.
Well, let's show you one more time why he is damaged in this position. Watch, the punch is one thing, it's a big punch, but watch the back of the head on the canvas with all the body weight coming. That's the double impact, and that's what can really hurt a fighter. You're already concussed. We assume you're concussed. We're not, you know, saying that as a diagnosis here, but
and again,
you're already damaged, and then the head hits Ted.
Well, that is exactly why it is important that the cushion of the rings, or the cushion underneath the canvas, that they need to be, that is required. And there is a difference. That might sound like a small point, but when you see something like you just pointed out, where the head hits the floor after the initial punch, you know the importance of that. There is a certain padding that has to be underneath that canvas that's required by commissions in well-conditioned or commissioned states. And that is important, that the proper padding, a padding that can help alleviate the concussion of the blow when the head hits, that can cushion the blow the best. It is very important that that cushion is used in rings.
Another look, George Tahdooahnippah. Big right hand right on the chin. And then the second impact out.
Again, there's a certain kind of padding that's required underneath that canvas. And when you see a knockout like that, you understand why it's important that a certain kind of padding is required and is there when a fighter needs it. Again, it looks like Jackson is fine.
36-year-old from Mena, Arkansas.
Now, again, the medical people, you're going to see, again, we want to tell our fans before they get overly concerned, they're seeing right there, you can see that they're making sure that they're restraining his head, they're putting tape over his head. Again, you just heard the fighter Jackson say, I'm all right, I really don't need this, but they're asking the fighter to please allow them to do their job. The same as you would see on a football field on a Sunday afternoon after a football player loses his consciousness.
Of course, the fighter can do further damage by getting himself upright or moving around, and they're securing the head there so that the neck will be immobilized, but you can see him moving his extremities. And earlier, he was able to nod his head that he was okay, but some extra precaution being taken here for 36-year-old Mike Jackson, who was the victim of a vicious one-punch knockout by George Tahdooahnippah. There is George Tahdooahnippah. He is now 7-0 with 6 knockouts in a good hand here by the fans in Tulsa for Mike Jackson. The 9th time that Mike Jackson has been knocked out in the first rounds. He's going to leave the ring on a stretcher. We will try to give you an update to his medical condition. But right now, let's go back to the studio to Brian Kenny and Ray Mancini.
Well, Joe and Teddy were on this from the start, and Ray, I guess it's an art matchmaking. You know, you have a guy in George Tahdooahnippah that you don't have to put him in a war every time he gets in there. You want to get him in against someone, as they say, soft. You can get a win, but get some work. You do cross a line, though, where it just looks non-competitive, and it certainly looked like Jackson was not competitive in this fight. He ends up going out on a stretcher.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you always go look at the promoter, and Tony Holden's a good promoter, but and you want to put competitive fights on. On paper, it might have looked like that, but like Teddy said, he's been knocked out 6 of his last 9 times. What makes him think it's going to be 7 out of 10, and which it was. You got to be smart. That's what I'm saying. The promoter's got to be regulated as well as the fighters.
Yeah, we're looking at this. And by the way, and Ray, even during the fight, said this guy will be knocked out this first round. I thought, I don't know, it was about a minute and a half left, and sure enough, a matter of time. We'll take a break. We're back right after this.
11 Eastern on SportsCenter. In progress, highlights of Barry Bonds' chase for 755. What Shaq had to say.
All right, and this week, Ricardo Mayorga, Fernando Vargas announcing their fight in September and going at it. Look, not a shock for anyone who's watching this program. This is how Mayorga now makes his living, by being the thug, by being the bad guy. Vargas didn't have any of it, didn't want any of it. Kathy Duva was all right, thankfully, was underneath all of that. You know, and people are talking about this fight. Ray will walk around, oh, I can't wait to see this fight. Really? You paying attention? You see how many fights they've lost in a row going in, and yet people get excited when they see this sort of thing. Have you been in a press conference brawl?
One time. When it happened, you usually sit there, people are going to talk. You know when I...
Who was the fight? What fight?
Well, my first fight against Livingstone Bramble.
Okay.
Montano. You know, we were talking, he was talking, the press conference, he was talking. So now they want us to take pictures next to each other, which is always a volatile situation. Anyway, he kept talking, later on, whack, punched him, you know. My manager went nuts.
Wait, you just punched him?
I just cracked him, you know, yeah.
Why did you just punch him?
I had enough. I had enough.
You just had
I had enough. And my manager said, what are you crazy? Because I could have blew the fight. I could have hurt my hand. I could have cut him. Anything could have happened. It's stupid. Just go and talk about the fight. Let the fight sell itself.
We'll be back.
Tuesday on the Bronx.
For more fights, we have Holyfield Cowie 1 coming up next here on ESPN2. Don't go away. Ray, always a pleasure.
Ryan, my pleasure, buddy. Thank you for having me.
Great seeing you again. Ray Boom Boom Mancini, former lightweight champion of the world. We'll have him back here on the program. We thank you very much for watching us here on Friday Night Fights. Hey, next week, Friday Night Fights, Freza Kendo in our main event. And I'll be joined in Las Vegas by Marvelous Marvin Hagler and Oscar De La Hoya. We'll be getting ready for the light heavyweight championship of the world between Bernard Hopkins and Winky Wright. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Joe Tessitore, Ray Boom Boom Mancini, and Teddy Atlas, I'm Brian Kenny. Thanks for watching Friday Night Fights.